So, somebody wrote me a bad check. Let's go ahead and get into that video. Alright y'all, so backstory, last week I did a bronze package for this client, and the confusing part about it is that this is not the first time I've done a vehicle for them. This is about the 4th service I've done for them, right? Now, that's the confusing part about it. Normally, they pay me in cash, which is totally fine. I prefer credit card, or credit card or debit, but they normally pay me in cash. This time, after I was finished, they asked me if they could give me a check. Now, let me say this. I've only taken 2 checks for the business. The whole time I've been like legit type of thing. So whenever I get a check, I do cash it like into a separate bank account, but it's like my bank account. Just so I can hold it there, and that's what that account is for, like for cash or anything like that. I don't want to put it with the rest of the money. I hold it until it's time to pay myself. So basically, the first time I took a check was from an actual company, like an actual business here in San Antonio. They wrote me a check for $550 for a vehicle I done, which I actually did a video on, which is the Corolla Cross. And then the second time was from somebody I knew. I've been knowing for the past maybe 3 years now. I've done a bunch of business with them and stuff, and so, you know, so they wrote me a check because I did 2 of their clients' cars, and then they just had to wait for the client to pay them. But they just told me, I'm gonna pay you so that way you're not waiting on the money, and then they'll pay me when they pay me, type of thing. So if this happened to you, you know what could be done and what to do, type of thing. Now, most people would tell you to leave it alone. Just take it as a loss. That's what most people would say. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, if you let one person slide, then you're gonna let the next person slide, and then it's gonna become a thing where everybody is just, you're letting everybody slide that's not paying you. And I feel like, my opinion, you don't let anybody slide when it comes to payment, especially when you told them the price, they knew the price, and all that stuff. Now, I'm slacking on that because it was a returning customer that I've done a couple services for. So with that particular customer, because their English is not the best, and the way they text, sometimes they don't really understand what I'm saying and stuff like that, I just give them a price when I get there, which in the past hasn't been an issue until now. So when I got there, I gave them a price. Okay, cool, go ahead, do your thing. But this time, like I said, they gave me a check. And whenever somebody gives me a check, I deposit it same day. It don't matter if it's a check for the business, a check for a personal check, or whatever. I deposit it the same day. I go to my ATM or I do the mobile deposit. So with this one, that's what I did. I did the mobile deposit. I waited until I got home later that night. I did the mobile deposit. And normally, whenever I do that, as long as it's not over, when it's over, I think 500 or 400, it'll deposit $225, and then the rest will be in the account like a day or 2 later, I think, with my bank. If it's under that, 100, which this was $120, it'll deposit normally within a day. Then I did it at night, so it should have deposited the next day. When I did it, I woke up the next day and it was just kind of pending, but it wasn't showing that it was in my account. And then the next day after that, it showed that it was in my account, that account. And then I didn't look at it no more. I didn't worry about it. Okay, the money's there. Good. Saturday, I checked my account again. It was early in the morning. I just checked my account and I noticed the money was gone. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, you know, like what's going on? So I looked and it didn't show like a transaction or anything like that because I don't have a debit card or nothing linked to that account. So I call my bank, which my bank is, they're really, really good on that. It doesn't take long to speak to somebody and all that. So I call, just trying to figure out, hey, I seen this. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. The money was there and I was going type of thing. And so they basically told me they didn't take the money, but they waiting on the okay from the other person's bank just to verify the funds, and that the funds should be back in my account by next week, by that Monday or Tuesday, because it was the weekend. So okay, cool, whatever. Didn't worry about it. Then I checked it on Monday, and it was the same thing, wasn't there yet. I checked it on Tuesday. Now on Tuesday when I checked it, so that's a whole week. When I checked it, and then it had minus 120, and then it says 120 adjustment, and then it says $15 adjustment. So they charged me a fee because of the check bounce basically. So I call, I'm like, hey, blah blah blah, this and that, and they're like, oh, well, the check didn't clear, and I'm like, does it tell you why it didn't clear? Like, do I need to take another picture of it? Do I need to redo it, or go to ATM or bank or what? And they're like, oh no, it's insufficient funds on the other end. So I'm like, what the hell? So one time I take a check from a customer, a client that I don't really know. I've done a couple of cards for them, but I don't really know them like that. I didn't think that they would be that type of person. Not saying they did it on purpose, but now it's kind of getting to the point where I'm thinking, maybe, hey. So what I did, if you run into this situation, you just want to be very professional with the customer. You just want to, you be honest with them. Honestly, that's what you got to do. Be honest, but be professional. And then if they're not trying to cooperate with you, then you start applying pressure. So basically, I try to be nice. And what I sent them is, it was early in the morning. So I sent them hey, good morning. It's Mo. Something happened with the check. The bank saying, my bank is saying your bank didn't allow the funds to go through. Give your bank a call. I'll just send an invoice out. So you want to not accuse them of anything, because sometimes in that case, maybe in this case, I don't know yet, they might have not known. Maybe they wrote a check from an account that didn't have any money in it and didn't realize that, or something like that. Or, I understand sometimes things happen, but it's all about communication. If they would have said, hey Mo, I need to have somebody go and deposit the money into that account, or can you hold the check for like a day, just deposit it tomorrow and everything's going to be good, I would have been like, okay, cool, that's fine, as long as you communicate. But if the customer's not communicating with you, it's nothing that I could do to really help. And so after I told them that, I said I'll send an invoice. They said, okay, send invoice, I pay credit card. Then they said, sorry, I don't know what happened with bank. And then I said, no problem at all. The invoice will be, I told them, instead of 120, it's gonna be 135 because they charged me a fee. So now I gotta charge them a fee because the check didn't go through. You wrote the check. So anybody would do something like that. And then I just told them why I was charging, it was 135 instead of 120, because they charged me a fee for the check not going through. Said sometimes, and then I just said sometimes with your bank you gotta confirm in order for the stuff to go through or whatever. Sometimes, I know with my bank, it'll send me a text message, or they'll call me if they feel like, if there's a transaction and they feel like it's fraud, or they don't feel like it's me, or if I'm out of state or something like that. They'll call or text me and I have to confirm and all that stuff like that. And then I said, I just sent the invoice. So that was at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then they didn't say nothing back. So the invoice sent through Square. Square texts it over, so I know they got the invoice. Most people don't know that with Square, it shows me if you viewed the invoice. So people don't be realizing that. So some people I've had got the invoice and act like they never got it, and I'm like, okay, it shows me that you viewed the invoice, so somebody got it. I didn't say anything, right? The invoice wasn't viewed or anything, so I figured, well, maybe Square didn't send it out. I copied and pasted and I texted over from the business number right here. So sent that out. As soon as I sent that out, they texted me back and said, okay, tomorrow morning. And then now it's, on the day I'm making this, it's a week from now, it's Wednesday. So it's tomorrow morning. No communication, no nothing. They haven't said anything. They viewed the invoice yesterday. It shows me that. So they got the invoice and everything. And then this morning I text them, this afternoon I text them and said, hey, It's Mo, just reminding you about the invoice. Now, that was at 1:30. It's 3, almost 4 o'clock now. So it is a couple of hours later. I'm gonna give to the end of the day, probably the rest of the day, for them to communicate with me. And if they don't communicate with me or pay the invoice by today, then I have to start applying pressure tomorrow and get on them about paying the invoice, because the fact of the matter is, if you perform a service, you want to get paid, vice versa. And this person, if I'm not mistaken, they have a business or they work wherever they work. You go to work, you clock in, and you expect to get paid, or you put, like, same thing. They perform whatever service they do, and they expect to get paid. And nobody expects to get paid 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks from now, or on the time of I'm gonna pay it when I pay it type of thing. If that's the case, then I wouldn't have scheduled the detail if that was the case. So, I mean, luckily we're not like hurting or anything like that. But in some other people cases, what if they were needing that money? You know, they schedule somebody for that detail, and they would need that money to pay something or whatever. And that can, in worst case scenario, I mean, that's not my scenario, but just putting it out there. So that's why that customer is probably, after everything is resolved, they're probably gonna be on the do not service list. Regardless of what happened, they're probably gonna have to find them another detailer, because that's just not something I wanna deal with. And so if this happened to you, which already happened to me one other time with a credit card, that person, I think, entered the wrong information on purpose and thought that I was just gonna leave it alone. And I didn't. So same thing with this. It's just $120, but that $120 can pay a light bill, that can pay a water bill, that can pay the phone bills, that can pay whatever. So I work for that money, so I deserve the money that I work for. And we agreed upon that price before I started. If this happens to you, there's 2 things you can do. Keep record of everything. He has the invoice. I have text messages, all that stuff. I have the check for $120, so that's proof right there that he knew how much it was gonna be and all that. If it has to go that route, I'm gonna take it that route. I don't like people messing with my money. And also what you could do, if like this person, if they don't communicate with me, I'm trying to give them a chance, then like I said, apply pressure. If they still not trying to communicate or pay the invoice and make it right, then you go through the process of reporting it to the police, and basically you report it as theft of services. The fact that they wrote me a check can make it may make it a little worse, because they wrote a bad check. And then you just go down the road, and then like I said, a letter out demanding, payment and all that stuff, and then take action from there. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a great day, and make sure you just remember, don't take no checks, so you don't have to go through none of this. And if you have to wait for them to make the payment at their house and you don't leave until they make the payment, do that. You don't have to do that with everybody, but some people, it happens. So see y'all in the next video.